According to what's going on in the news, Marco Rubio is telling lawmakers Trump aims to buy Greenland and is downplaying the military action. So definitely that's something that people are talking about as European allies are working on a plan should U.S. move on Greenland. Europe draws a red line on Greenland after a year of trying to pacify Trump, is what is being reported by the Washington Post. And European nations are committed to troops in Ukraine as part of a milestone peace talk in Paris. Ukraine reports concrete results from talks with Western allies. So that is definitely something that people are talking about in the news as well. So definitely that is a major news item that folks are paying attention to and are definitely trying to figure out more about that as well. So definitely that is something that is being reported as NATO ambassadors, according to the Hill, are saying we could be on the cusp of a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. And the Trump administration, live update, U.S. backs the security guarantees for Ukraine. And it definitely looks like this will be the first time that has been done in a while and everything like that. So it looks like there is some movement in terms of peace in that area. China bans dual use good exports for Japan military over their Taiwan remarks. So China's threats to block rare earths has put Japan on high alert. Japan's Prime Minister Taiwan comments have prompted China to ban certain exports to Japan. And definitely, this is putting some tension in that part of the world in the Asian theater and all along those lines. Yemen separatist leader accused of treason as Saudis strike forces. So, Yemen separatist leader refuses to attend talks, deepening the Saudi Arabia UAE clash, and all along those lines. So, that's definitely something that people are talking about as well. Saudi led coalition targets Yemen, and SDC head was dismissed from the government. So, Foreign Minister spokesperson Lin Jian's regular press conference on January 5th was something that people were talking about in some of the media outlets as well. So we'll see what's going on in that way. U.S. News and World Report said the leader of Yemen's southern separatist group never gave up hopes for independence. And Seoul calls for a freeze of North's nuclear program and Chinese mediation. So China has stopped publicly urging for North Korean denuclearization, and South Korean leaders say he asked China's Xi to act as a mediator on the North Korea issues. So South Korea Lee in Beijing says he seeks the full restoration of China ties in 2026. So it looks like there's some movement in activities between the leaders of those countries as well. So lots going on in that way. And Chinese refiners expected to replace Venezuelan oil with Iranian crude, is what traders are saying. Trump demands Venezuela kick out China and Russia, partner only with U.S. on oil. And U.S. pressures Venezuela to expel advisors from Cuba, China, Russia, and Iran. Maduro's perfect union with China has deep economic rupture. And some people are talking about that and all along those lines. So we'll see what goes on in that way. And Maduro's capture in Venezuela sends a warning signal to Iran. So as Venezuela buckles under Trump, Iran sees an uncomfortable parallel. So Trump's abduction of Maduro escalates concerns over a potential war with Iran. And Iran's calculations are scrambled by U.S. raid in Caracas. So definitely, or Caracas. So definitely that's something that people are talking about as well. Protest hit Iran warily watches the U.S. after its raid on Venezuela. And fire safety inspection lapsed for years at the Swiss bar where 40 died in a New Year's blaze. Family shocked Swiss ski bar had some other issues as well. So it looks like they were shocked at some of the things that they were hearing about this whole notion of what was going on at that particular ski bar where those fatalities took place and all along those lines. So it looks like the families were shocked by some of the things that were taking place and some of the things that did not happen that should have happened and all along those lines. So definitely that's something that people are talking about as well. Bardenot calls on Starmer to hold talks with NATO and Trump over Greenland and Ukraine. So definitely that's something that is in the news as well. And definitely that's something that people are talking about also to see what's going on with that particular part of the news stories. And as I was saying, fire safety inspections elapsed for years at a Swiss bar where 40 died in that New Year's blaze. And definitely Venezuela attack, Greenland threats, and Gaza assault marked the collapse of international legal order, is what is being reported by the conversation, and all along those lines. The role the Caribbean played in helping the U.S. to depose Maduro, some folks are asking that as well, and that was being reported in The Guardian. So even City Journal was saying, yes, Trump's Venezuelan moves are legal. And right for the closing of the Holy Door at the St. Peter's Basilica, we talked a little bit about that on yesterday. But Pope Leo is calling for Christians to treat foreigners with kindness as he closes the Catholic Holy Year. Pope Leo XIV closed the Holy Door, concluding the Jubilee Year of Hope on the Lord's Epiphany. And Chris Mason, UK, grapples with a new era of U.S. unpredictability. And Central African Republic elections, Faustine Archange Touadera wins a third term. So the re-elected president of Central African Republic invites Russia's Putin to visit, according to what TASS is saying. So Central African Republic president is been re-elected, and he's invited Putin to come and visit his country, and all along those lines. So Central African Republic election runner-up rejects results and is alleging fraud. Approaching Antarctica, the icebreaker Erin encounters thick sea ice, so entering the Antarctic sea ice and a new world. So that is something that's being reported on as well. And tourists on remote desert islands stranded after a rift between U.S. allies. The hundreds of tourists on Yemeni Island caught up in the Saudi UAE rift. So definitely that's something that people are talking about also in the news and around the news in that way. And protests over AI climate crisis leaves tens of thousands without power in Berlin. So power is returning to Berlin after the arson attack, and all along those lines. So power restored to Berlin homes after the attack on lines caused an outage. So there was an attack on the lines and all along those lines. And Latin America is silent as Trump menaces Cuba, Colombia, and Mexico. So 6 countries, Greenland, Colombia, 6 countries where the Donero Doctrine may take Trump next. So after Venezuela operation, Trump says the whole hemisphere is in play. Colombian military must defend against potential U.S. invasion, minister says. So Trump and Rubio's global intimidation campaign is what Axios is called it, and what they are reporting on as well. Uganda election 2026, UCC denies plans to shut down internet. So ahead of the elections, the Uganda security forces are accused of using violence against some of their opponents. So opposition supporters in Uganda face brutal campaign of repression, is even what Amnesty International is saying as well. So Uganda bans a live broadcast of riots and unlawful processions ahead of the vote, and all along those lines. And BitChat developer rejects Uganda's claim it can block the decentralized messaging app. And what do 250 million Christians celebrate? Why do 250 million Christians celebrate Christmas on January 7th? So Orthodox Christian Christmas comes to the east, and other news in picture. So Serbian Orthodox community in Denver gathers to celebrate Christmas Eve traditions. In the Church of St. Sava, Christmas morning was marked by a liturgy and also some candle lighting as well. So definitely things are going on in that space, as Orthodox Christmas is to be celebrated Wednesday across the region. And travelers in the Caribbean experienced major flight disruptions following the airspace closure. That was something that was reported a couple of days ago during the invasion and the capture of Maduro there in Venezuela. So definitely some people were stuck and were having to deal with some traveler issues as well. So travelers were stranded in the Caribbean as U.S. military operations sent airlines scrambling to add other flights. So definitely that's something that people are talking about as well. Israel tells Doctors Without Borders to end its work in Gaza. So that is something that people are talking about as well. Israel to bar 37 aid groups as UK and EU warned of severe impact in Gaza. So Israeli says it was the operations of several humanitarian organizations in Gaza and all along those lines. So definitely Israel's grave threat to withhold NGO registration. And Taiwan says China's war game sought to undermine global support for the island. So beyond F-16s and Abrams, why China's Justice Mission 2025 is being talked about, and all along those lines. So Chinese military exercise near Taiwan cannot be condoned. So definitely folks are paying attention to this, as well as Taiwan detects 11 sorties of PLA aircraft, and all along those lines. So definitely it looks like there's some conflicts going on even there in Taiwan as well. So a number of things are taking place in the world as always, including a 6.4 magnitude earthquake that shook the Philippine seas, and all along those lines. So lots going on, and there's still talks going on in other places as well. In the Sudan Civil War, children among 13 killed after a drone hit the homes in El Abad City, medics say. So over 100 people were killed in the weeks of attacks in Sudan's Darfur, and all along those lines. And 13 more lives were lost in Sudan as the 1000th day of the war looms. So that war has been going on for quite a bit of time as well. Sudan Army intercepts RSF drone attacks on major dam and military sites in the country's north. And China sells the world on its duty-free island amid a $1 trillion trade surplus. So China bets on a province the size of Belgium to reshape global trade. And Haku positions itself as a global hub for tourism, culture, and international events. Duty-free shopping further fuels Hanan's holiday travel boom and everything like that. So definitely it looks like the Hanan free trade port could be a game changer, is what some folks are saying. And Eva Schultz, the Anna Frank stepsister and Holocaust survivor, passed away at the age of 96 some 2 days ago, and all along those lines. So people are definitely remembering what she had going on and her life, and all along those lines. And definitely that's a lot going on in the U.S. as well. Going to bring in Rick Rosner, see what he's got going on in his world, and we'll see if others join us as well. But definitely it looks like the committee has released conference CGS and E&W and Interior bills. So major takeaway for federal agencies from the latest bipartisan spending package. So I guess we're trying to get a bipartisan spending package out there as well. And the criminal prosecution of Nicolas Maduro is underway. And please go talk about the 92-year-old judge and dirty and infested with drugs behind the New York jail holding Maduro and Combs. John Puffy Combs is in the same jail apparently that Maduro is in, and all along those lines. And I think he pleaded not guilty, and that he said he was still the ruler of his country, and all along those lines. And of course, some other countries, leaders in other parts of Latin America are concerned as to what their fate might be as well. And in Piscataway, New Jersey, a machete wielding suspect shot and killed by police at home. 3 other victims found dead inside. So Piscataway father loses his wife, parents, son in a quadruple homicide. So a man with a machete shot and killed by police, who then found 3 more dead inside that particular home, and all along those lines. And you're in the news, meaning LA, because after devastating LA fires, California is drafting the nation's toughest rules for homes.
So it's the 1-year anniversary of the horrible fires that burned 12,000 homes.
So they're going to try to make sure that the homes are more secure and more fireproof, it looks like, and all along those lines. So I don't know what you can do to make homes more fireproof, but I'm sure that
you can build homes out of concrete. You can build them using steel studs. I don't know if any of those rules. You can make sure that planting, that the trees and foliage around the house does not. There's a lot of stuff to do. I don't know whether any of that will become part of these tougher plans. I doubt. I don't think they'll force people to build homes not out of wood. I mean, big swaths of LA have burned before. Every couple decades, we lose a ton of houses, and I don't think it will significantly change the way houses are built.
Well, I was watching a documentary yesterday, and trying to decide it's going to be in a film festival that I'm part of, that was dealing with the murals that are, particularly Chicano murals, that are around LA and all along those lines and everything. And one of the things they were talking about was this notion of how much of LA has been concreted over. So apparently y'all concreted over a lot of your waterways and everything like that.
The LA River, miles and miles of it flow underground.
Right.
And it's a tough thing to figure out what to do with the LA River, because much of the time it's just a trickle. Across the Southwest, you have these rivers that aren't a river most of the time, and then you have a huge rainstorm and it floods. That's why you have arroyos, which are these big V-shaped channels that are usually empty, in like New Mexico and Vegas. But you need, because you need something for when the rains come, but the rains don't come that often.
Yeah, that's true.
The way LA dealt with it is like, we're just going to cover it up and have it run underground.
And that's what they did. They made it run underground and everything like that. I saw Colorado was in the news, and this was because of a animal attack and everything like that. But they're saying that the human DNA was found on all 4 paws of a mountain lion that apparently killed the hiker in northern Colorado. So I guess even if you are attacked by an animal, DNA can help folks find out whether that is the person or the animal that attacks you or killed you. So DNA can also help in animal attacks as well.
Sure. I mean, if you're going to do crime now, it's a lot tougher in that there are cameras every place, and it's hard not to leave DNA around. So if you're writing like a heist movie or a crime movie, it might be easier to do if you set it, back in the 80s or the 50s.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that would be.
By the way, crime. We might be getting set to steal Greenland from Denmark.
I saw that. I did mention that Greenland might be the next target, that we might be going after Greenland. The people in Europe are not that happy about that and everything like that. But yeah, Greenland may be another target that we're going after. And he's Marco Rubio has said stuff around that, as has Trump. So it looks like Greenland could be a next target. I have a theory about this and everything like this, and this is me being slightly sarcastic in my attempt at humor, even though I don't claim to be a comedian and everything like that. But we just had a holiday, and the holiday was Christmas and, of course, New Year's and everything like that. But I'm thinking more around Christmas. And, I'm not sure that Trump is a big fan of Santa Claus, because Santa Claus keeps the naughty and nice list and everything like that. And he's probably on more the naughty list than the nice list and everything. And if I remember correctly, Greenland isn't that far from the North Pole. So maybe that's why Trump wants the North Pole. Maybe
this is step one in annexing Santa Claus, taking over the North Pole.
I'm thinking that's what he's going for.
So, I mean, it's not inconceivable. The North Pole is one of those places that's supposed to not be owned by any nation, I think, or it's maybe chopped up into several pieces.
Right.
Mostly it's useless, but as the planet heats up, the North Pole is free of ice for more time, longer spans of the year, and then it becomes useful for shipping.
It becomes useful for shipping, and because he's not always the most aware of reality, he may actually think that Santa Claus exists, and he might not have got that letter from.
Well, Santa Claus is kind of a communist, where he just gives people toys without charging for them. And where's that money coming from?
That's true. So that might be where he's going after Greenland and everything. By the way, I did see that abortion has stayed legal in Wyoming after the state's top court struck down a ban. So if you are in an adjacent state and you want to go get one, you can still get one in Wyoming. And Wyoming is one of those states that likes to pride itself on its independence. And we've had a couple of people from Wyoming even here on this network. But yeah, they're saying the abortion pill ban is unconstitutional, is what the Wyoming top court definitely ruled recently and everything.
You're talking Plan B, the pill you take when you are afraid you got pregnant the night or day before.
Right.
Okay.
That is what they're allowing and everything. And it looks like Mamdani swore in a new person for his fire commissioner, that being Lillian Bonsignor. So she definitely she was the FDNY commissioner, has been sworn in and everything like that. So and apparently she cut Zoran Mamdani cut back at Elon Musk over the appointment of New York's first openly gay fire commissioner. So apparently she's
all right. Something's happening here with feedback. But
it might be Sasha. Or a phone call.
Yeah. So Musk has been going crazy on Twitter lately, on X lately, posting just very disturbing stuff like white power stuff, that we need to, just a lot of stuff that is in line with MAGA and maybe goes beyond. And it's for somebody who remembers when Twitter was fun and wasn't, when Musk bought Twitter, he eventually brought back thousands and thousands of a-holes who were kicked off at Twitter for posting racist stuff and anti-Semitic stuff and straight up bullshit about vaccines and COVID, and they're all back. And they tend to dominate the messaging on X, and it's if you knew and loved Twitter, it's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, it's definitely disturbing now. It looks like, and I know Nick's got ties to Utah, but it looks like Utah has banned 3 more books from public schools, including the source for a blockbuster movie, that being The Wicked. So there are definitely some more book bans going on and everything like that. So apparently they're not too happy with the movie that made the book that made Wicked and everything like that. So there's definitely something going on in that way. And in Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee, no relation, is declining to secure millions in federal funds to feed Tennessee kids during the summer. So he's not trying to go after the money when a lot of kids are in need of money and
food. Some Republican governors like to turn down federal funds to show how tough and self-sufficient their state is. And it's at the expense usually of poor people.
Right. And that's definitely something that's going on. Poor people are definitely facing that. And all along those lines, I know I was going to ask Sasha, but he's not here. He got there and take that phone call. But are you thinking we're going to get some? I know he doesn't, but are you thinking we're going to get some peace in Ukraine? Because apparently the Europeans are willing to put some boots on the ground and everything like that. So what's your?
No, I don't think. No, It's for one thing, it's winter, and nothing happens. It's Ukraine's been a stalemate for a year and a half.
Right.
With the battle lines, not moving very much, and they don't move at all during, it's hard to mount any kind of military offensive during the winter. So yeah, I don't think they will come to any significant agreements about anything. For one thing, Putin doesn't want to. Putin thinks he can outlast. I mean, each side thinks it can outlast the other side. So no.
No, that makes sense and everything. And apparently a plot was thwarted, and this happened earlier today, but a plot to kill Burkina Faso's military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has been thwarted. The Western African nation has announced that. So it was a sophisticated plan that had been hatched by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damibi, the military officer ousted by Traore in September 2022, the security minister said in a late night broadcast. So it says our intelligence service intercepted this operation in the final hours. They had planned to assassinate the head of state and then strike other key institutions, including civilian personalities. So it looks like there's some military actions and leaders that are trying to defend themselves as well. So Trump isn't the only one facing attacks. Apparently there's this African leader. So since seizing power, Captain Traore has faced at least 2 coup attempts and is also grappling with a growing jihadist movement that has violence that has forced millions from their homes. So it looks like he's got some serious things that he's got to deal with, and he's only a 37-year-old military leader. So he's a fairly young leader that is putting up with these things, and he's maintained strong popular support and gained a following across the continent for his Pan-Africanist vision and criticism of Western influence. So maybe this is another country that we're going to go into at some point or another and try to.
No, we tend to neglect Africa. Plus, it's pretty geographically remote from us.
Right. So we'll just pay more attention to the Latin American countries. I know that there was warnings, I guess, issued to Colombia, Mexico, and some of the other countries down there that they could be the next targets in addition to Greenland. So if you were a betting man, and I know you do bet on some things, but which one of those countries would you be fearful of? I mean, we already had a war against Mexico way back when. I think that was the War of
So, I
1812.
mean, Venezuela was the easiest target for, if I had to guess. You don't want to attack a populous country that has a significant military. So, I would say Cuba uh, is, we've been pissed at Cuba for more than 50 years. Let's see how many people live in Cuba.
Cuba's a small island nation, so this probably doesn't have that many people.
11 million. So less than half. Venezuela has 28 million. Cuba has less than half of that. I don't know that now. Cuba's had not a great. They've had the same government
Right.
since what 1958. So
Yeah.
67 some years. So they've got it would probably be harder to depose their leadership. You can't even if you came in and kidnapped whoever's running Cuba. I don't know how much would change.
Well,
But
apparently, speaking of things not changing, apparently, and this was only published a couple of hours ago, there was a Russian tanker that was seized on the Atlantic, and it definitely looks like that vehicle might have been heading to Venezuela because we know Venezuela and Russia have got oil ties and everything like that. But it looks like we have kidnapped or captured a Russian vehicle as well. So it says the USS
so yeah, that's the headline on Drudge, and it's under the flags of. So this article says it's linked to both Russia and Venezuela, and that they chased it down and seized it with using I guess a battleship.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it was trying to run a blockade. It started in Iran. Was on its way to Venezuela to pick up oil.
And apparently, your favorite person, Pete Heshes, posted something on X afterwards. He said the blockade of sanctions and an illicit Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. And he put full effect in all caps anywhere in the world. So apparently, we are not allowing Venezuelan oil to go anywhere. So while the U.S. administration has stressed the importance of the Venezuelan blockade to its actions, the Marinera had been sanctioned for alleged violations relating to Iran. So the vessel was also empty when it was seized, having turned away from the U.S. forces in the Caribbean in December, while seemingly en route to Venezuela.
So it's been out there since August, and it's part of, I guess, what they call a shadow fleet that kind of smuggles oil out of Venezuela. But it's hard, given modern satellite technology, to hide a frickin' tanker that's longer than a city block.
Yeah, that's hard to design. And they were trying to mask it under different countries. I think one of them was Guyana, and everything.
And they changed its name. Yeah, they changed, I guess, its registry.
And this just came out. Trump says the U.S. will be getting 30 million to 50 million barrels of oil from Venezuela at market price. So U.S. to control Venezuela oil sales indefinitely is what the energy secretary is saying. But it looks like we might be turning some of this oil over to the U.S. as well, is what is being said and everything like that. So I guess
a lot's being said, but nothing is clear at this point. This is what we grabbed Maduro, 2 days ago, 3 days ago?
3 days ago, I think it was.
His VP is now running the country with she's said a lot of different stuff too, where she threatened citizens who celebrated the fall of Maduro with I don't know, but so nothing's clear yet.
Nothing's clear. We're gonna figure that out, and there'll be things along those lines. So definitely, folks are trying to figure this whole thing out and what's going on in that regards. We got Sasha back.
Hold on. This article says at least 16 sanctioned oil tankers have fled Venezuela, 4 of which have been located and 3 captured. So maybe it isn't that easy to find tankers, because out of 16 that they've been trying to track down for illegally moving oil, they've only found a quarter of them.
Only a quarter of them and everything. Nick, how's it going there in Spain? How's it going in
Oh,
Canada, Sasha?
it's gone good. I hope you guys can hear me pretty clearly.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good.
We did notice that you guys in the United States have some very interesting developments. Number one, of course, taking Maduro. The people, Spain is kind of schizophrenic on this. The president came out against it, but there are about 500,000 people from Venezuela that live here, and they love the fact they took Maduro. They love it. They hate Maduro. So the people in Venezuela are very supportive of the regime change, or at least the movement in that direction. The other problem that you guys have, which is it just boggles my mind, is the Samilia daycare centers in Minneapolis. Tim Walz has decided not to run for re-election. And, I haven't seen hard evidence, but there's a lot of smoke. And where there's smoke, there's a lot of fire.
They've been prosecuting this daycare fraud since 2018.
And the thing is, what gets me is, what is the federal government of the United States doing, being involved in pumping money into daycare centers? That is ridiculous. That's not a federal government function. If you want to support daycare centers, it needs to be done at the state or municipal level. Why is it the U.S. government? By the way, another interesting thing that happened, the casting folded. Okay.
Who?
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting folded, which is good, because what they do is they fund PBS and NPR. Yeah, I'll talk about it again today, because I went to a lot of their meetings. It's a club. It is a club. And guess what? The people on this panel and the people listening, you're not invited to participate in this club. Okay? It's a closed environment. You have to imagine, if we were siphoning all the money from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting into Pod TV, we wouldn't let anybody in. That is PBS. And I spent years with them, and I can tell you, it's not a corrupt organization, but it's about as close as you can get. So I'm actually glad to see that they are not getting funded. I wouldn't have had this if they were an open and honest organization, but they're not. They're a very closed club, so they don't deserve any government money. Absolutely not one dime. And so, you can say what you want about their programming. I like their programming. You can say want to be a contributor. I was a contributor and still am to PBS. I have nothing wrong with it. Government money should not be involved in PBS. It is dirty money, and they took it.
So I have a question for you. So, like, about your country, your adopted country. So my wife, my wife goes on walks with friends, and one of her friends comes from Spain, and she says that Spain has incredibly corrupt governance. And what's up with that? I kind of feel like, maybe Spain she's probably telling the truth.
Probably.
I also feel like Spain is still a great place to live, even if their government sucks.
I think just like in all countries, you're going to have an element of problems. And people problems. Like when we were down the street today, somebody pulled in right next to him and blocked the crosswalk. And normally the Spanish people are really nice and they're very helpful. But every now and then you get a jerk, just like in any country. And so my wife yelled at the jerk, but I've seen this happen before. There are jerks in Spain. That's not unusual. In other words, they don't care anything about themselves, and they'll literally block crosswalks, not because they're malicious. It's just they're sociopaths. They just don't really care about anything else but themselves. So the right thing to do is to get pushback and to yell at them. Why do you yell at them? Just to make their life miserable, so they realize maybe they won't do it again. We had that in Hungary. When we were in Hungary, which Sasha is familiar with, in Budapest, they have these beautiful pools. They're spas. Okay, so we put our stuff down on a chair. And these German ladies came up and they grabbed our stuff. They threw it off. We were in the pool at the time, and they stuck their stuff on and they sat on the chairs. And I'm going, okay, what can we do? One, we could do nothing. But two, I yelled at them. I screamed at them. I made their life miserable. And I said, I'm going to do this for one reason, because you shouldn't be doing that. You just
Did you
don't
get your
take
chairs back?
I think we got our chairs back, but I can be and was extremely obnoxious, Rick, but not because I needed the chairs back. I mean, we could have left. It wasn't that big of a deal. But the thing is, it was the behavior of these Germans that they think they can just walk up. Well, let's imagine, you have your stuff on a chair, throw your stuff off and stick their stuff on and jump into the chair.
Yeah. All right. So my wife doesn't let me yell at people, at randos who are dicks, because in the U.S. we have close to 500 million guns, and she says, quite reason, you never know who might be.
Oh yeah, U.S. could be a dangerous situation. I would agree. In Europe, it's probably not as dangerous, and they do yell at each other every now and then. I am just not into it. I would rather leave.
You're talking about the daycare and everything like that.
I just did it because I thought that. Well, why not? I mean,
just really quickly, you talked about the daycares and everything
but
like that.
Let's go back to the Somalian daycare center. The Somalian daycare.
I was going to talk about the daycares.
I don't know how much
hold on a second. The federal money for daycare primarily flows through the Child Care and Development Fund, administered by states for low-income families via subsidies and quality improvement. So with recent January federal action pausing some state funds due to alleged fraud, while other grants like from the American Rescue Plan also support providers. So there are different ways that they can get it, including the state-run programs like North Carolina's child care subsidies. But part of that is to help people that don't have the money or the capability to get the child care themselves and everything like that. So this is a way that both the federal and the state government are helping folks. As a matter of fact, there's a child tax credit, a separate federal tax credit that can offer up to $2,200 per child with potential for a refundable portion. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that none of these federal funds should be used when it comes to
I would look, Mark, this didn't even exist when I was a kid. I mean, where people, first of all, you don't drop your kids off in daycare center and expect other people to raise your kids. I hate to say it, maybe this is old fashioned, but if you have kids, you're expected to raise them.
Oh, hold on, because when you were a kid,
expect someone else to pay for them. Are you kidding me? All right, if you want to do it at a local level, go ahead. I have a problem. The federal government, this is not a federal government function, not even close. And so they lost a lot of money, and rightfully so, because it's a stupid idea to begin with.
So when you were young, in the late 50s and into the 60s, there were a lot of single income families. You could get by on a single decent job. Now, I mean, that's certainly changed in the past 60 years, where most families, to get by, need both parents to work, and that's why you need daycare. Now, maybe somehow we should, reverse the.
Wait a second. Keller acted like daycare is an old thing and everything, like a new thing. But as I'm looking at AI, they're saying daycare centers, and you'll love this, Sasha, emerged in Europe around the 1840s, and they were a way for working class mothers to go to work while they were also having their kids taken care of. So daycares are not a new notion and everything like that. Matter of fact, the New York Day Nursery started in 1854, initially as a charity for poor families. So this notion of what's going on with daycares is not.
But let's talk about Minnesota. So the situation in Minnesota has prompted Trump to cut off Medicaid funding for 14 different programs. I don't know what all the programs are, but they add up to $3.75 billion in federal and state taxpayer resources. But the Republicans are acting like this has been just like it's the Wild West with daycare, and it's been nobody has been doing anything about it. They've been prosecuting this stuff since 2018. 70 people have been prosecuted. 53 people have been found guilty, and I assume most of them are in jail or prison. So, I mean, it's not like Minnesota's been.
Yeah, but that's not a federal government function. It's a state government function.
Okay, but
Minnesota
hold on.
The federal government is to provide for the common defense, bipartisan welfare. But when do you think the federal government is supposed to take care of your kids?
It was actually part of the civil rights movement and the war on poverty. So that's when they started passed a bill providing high quality child care and home visiting and other services to families.
It's just another federal government bad idea. You know what another bad idea was when I was on the homeowners association? The government would pay us to a grant. It was not much, $750 to go clean up a yard. We had to fill out tremendous amounts of paperwork. Then the stupid federal government write us a check for $750. That program should not exist. It's not the federal government function to have us clean up our yard. I'm sorry. And it's not the federal government function to provide for your bloody kids. If you have a problem, go to the state of Minnesota, have it, or the city of Minneapolis, but don't go to Washington, D.C. They should not be involved in it at all. It's stupid. And that's what it is.
Well, and one more thing about there's a guy who calls himself an investigator. He's a kid named Nick Shirley, who used to be a prankster on TikTok. He would do TikTok. All right, this guy is going around with a camera to daycares and trying to film through the windows to see if there are kids inside. And at most daycares, they don't let just randos walk up to the windows and look at the kids. So this guy, I mean, any reasonable daycare does not let strangers like come and stare at kids. They have paper over the windows, or somehow you can't just walk up. And this guy has been raising a brouhaha saying, well, there must not be any kids there because I can't see them. And so this dumb shit has.
Yeah, and he might. By the way, he might.
Hold on a second. We got another. We got to get to I want to get to Joby. Hold on. Hold on.
For these daycares.
Hold on. I hear your argument, but we got somebody that's actually got a child or children that's actually in the daycare space. You say you want to get rid of daycare. Let's hear from Jacoby, who's actually got kids and they're past daycare.
But I go back to my premise. It shouldn't be funded by the federal government together. It's not
your premise is wrong.
Not a federal government function to take care of your kids.
Nick, hold on.
Take care of your kids is you.
Already said it's redundant.
You know, why
you're going to keep talking, or you want me to talk? You want me to talk now?
My turn. Okay,
let Jacoby get a word in here. Let's.
So just point out. Here we go again.
The United States of America.
Take a drink. You're good. You take a drink. Go on mute. Go in the back like you normally do. So as a point of reference, Mark already pointed out that the U.S. child care stuff started back in the 1920s. So it's been around since then. To say that it started out just recently is a lie. Let's go ahead and be honest. It's a lie, just what Nikki Shirley did. Nikki Shirley is just a YouTuber that is a big influencer on the right, just like Nick Fuentes, Charlie Kirk, and all the others. Candace Owens, so on and so forth. They always make up some stuff to play in the fears of the right wing, because that's how they make money. That's what Nikki Shirley's getting paid for, is just to make up stuff. That's why Dan Bongino just left his post, because he's going back to podcasting because he can make more money. Plus, he doesn't want to deal with the Epstein files. But to get back to Minnesota,
Bongino was second in charge of the FBI. He left the FBI.
Yeah, just to get back to the Minnesota situation, there is a campaign happening right now. That is the reason why Nikki Shirley's piece kicked off. It was a complete fabrication in the first place. The places he went to were actually legitimate places. And just like Rick pointed out, he went up saying, hey, show me the kids. Nobody's going to show anybody the kids that way. That doesn't work. And even when the investigators that Trump sent in to check on the places that Nikki Shirley made up about, they found out those were to be legitimate places. Even the investigators from the news organizations found out those to be legitimate organizations. As Rick pointed out also, this has been investigated for so long. This has been going on since 2018. On top of that, what's happening in a election year with Donald Trump sitting here talking as well? It's attacking brown people. What's going on? What did they do what did they talk about all throughout the campaign? They were eating the cats and the dogs. They were talking about the Somali individuals in Ohio. They got to be evil, just like the brown people that come across the border are stealing it's all racist propaganda, which is all being pushed forward, because who is the head that got arrested with the most of the fraud on this whole situation was a white lady. You haven't heard anything about the white lady who got arrested, or the other white individuals that were all tied up into this. It's all about, hey, let's hate on these Somali individuals, because that falls in line with Nick's push of this whole racist propaganda that I guess he doesn't realize he's pushing racist propaganda like normal, but this is the same push. So that's exactly what's going on. This is campaign season. And now that Tim Walz pulled his name, Now you got Amy Klobuchar to deal with, but you're not going to have that same ammunition of crying and complaining that, oh, well, Tim Walz is this. Now you have a fan favorite in Minnesota with Amy Klobuchar, who's won the election so many times, dealing with the My Pillow guy who has pushed out some very idiotic stuff.
No, he's actually insane. He's a recovering drug addict whose brain is just cooked. So yeah, Democrats should cheer him on as the Republican candidate because he is crazier than crazy.
Well, speaking of crazier than crazy, I want to get back to.
You mean Mike Lindell?
Hold on, we're going to get to another topic. We only got a few minutes, and I don't want Sasha left out. Ukrainian. I mean, we've got new activity in Ukraine and Russia going on. We've got this whole notion of, as I said yesterday, that the UK and France are saying that they'll put boots on the ground, and there's this notion of a peace talk and all along those lines, even though we don't think that this is going to end anytime soon and all along those lines. But what is your take on the latest developments as of today, Sasha? Because your show was yesterday, but what is your take on the latest developments?
What are these developments? That there will be European troops on the ground in Ukraine in case of the either ceasefire or a peace treaty or anything of that sort. Nothing indicates that coming in the near future or not so near future or ever. So this is, they might as well discuss, okay, we'll put troops on the ground in Ukraine as soon as Elon Musk will reach Mars. And the next day after that will happen, there will be troops on the ground in Ukraine. It's the same thing at all. So there is no indication whatsoever from Russia that they are willing to discuss peace or make peace or even respond to any proposals about the peace. So this is no starter. This is a waste of time. Maybe it's good to keep Trump's hopes for the Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe this is so. Nobel Committee, okay, although there is still no peace, but there are fantastic efforts devoted to achieving the peace, and that alone is worth to giving Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Because if you remember, Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for doing basically nothing.
Yeah, basically nothing and everything like that. But just really quickly, there's another conversation, and Nick's going to love this word and everything that has been coming out lately with Trump and everything like this. Are we in the middle of a new effort at neo-colonialism and imperialism and everything like that? Because as we said earlier, when it was just me and Rick here and everything, he's going after Greenland, he's going after Venezuela, he's going after a number of other countries that he said he's going after, including Iran and everything. And given some of these countries have a bad history and are bad actors and everything like that, but it is still
we're looking for stuff we can grab. Yeah, and there's no Trump likes to grab.
We should have never left Afghanistan.
And as we discussed yesterday,
I don't know what.
Nobody's stopping him. Our media
I do not have a problem with the United States coming in and taking over. Yeah.
But why should we be we were the world's
friend? By the way, that's how you make America great again. In case you guys
exactly. You know, the best thing.
We're not here to be friends.
Trump once admitted that the easiest way to get ahead in a personal relationship with women is to grab them at their genitals. Mm-hmm. And that's something Trump is trying to do now with, Iran, Greenland, Venezuela, of course.
Colombia, Cuba,
all of those.
He has no armies to do all that. He doesn't even have the sea power to support his actions in Iran. There is no any avia carrier available. They're all stuck in Venezuela. So they have to now move all that stuff. Who is paying for all that? It's United States people. How can they benefit from Trump grabbing Venezuela and Greenland and Iran and Cuba and Colombia and a few other countries? By the way, you forgot about Canada altogether, because according to Monroe doctrine, Canada doesn't have a friendly government to the United States. And since Canada is not only in the Western Hemisphere, it's a direct neighbor to US. So he definitely has to catch the guy who runs Canada, the Carney, and bring him to New York and put him in next cell to Maduro, and then put some Cuban people into whoever. Now, I'm actually, anybody thought about who is the ruler of Greenland, as to have an idea to bring him to New York for trial, and because he's definitely not friendly to the United States. Friendly, he will go.
Here's a question for everybody. How many great nations fell after the attempt at world domination?
Yeah, people have been saying on Twitter that this is a sign of a failing empire. But this will drive some countries into the arms of China. China is the guy who lurks around your girlfriend, waiting for you to be an asshole. And so we used to be the world's friend, and now China is replacing us as the world's friend with their various Belt and Road initiatives. And so, when we're a dick to the world, China's there to go, oh, I'm sorry, and pat your girlfriend on the back. And then before you know it, they're banging.
Yeah, that could be the case and everything like that. But Nick, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're backing us as the world emperor and everything like that? Because it sounds to me like that's what you were saying, is that you're good with the U.S. being a world domination.
Yeah. I mean, if you're familiar... Oh, sure. That's the name of the game. I mean, read Machiavelli, the Prince. I mean, read Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great wasn't great because he stayed in Macedonia. He was great because he conquered the world, or most of it. Okay, so that's what great nations do. They take over other nations. I don't see a problem with it. We should take.
What are we going to do?
Take Venezuela. It looks like we have to pull
Professor Nick.
We should have never left Afghanistan. Biden should do that.
Professor Nick.
Look what he did.
Dr. Sharif has a question for you. Hold on, Nick. Dr. Sharif has a question for you.
Hold out.
Yeah.
Hold on. Dr. Sharif has a question for you.
No, this is a federal government function, unlike supporting Somalia daycare centers.
Professor Nick.
Yes, Dr. Sharif.
Dr. Sharif has a question.
I just came to Dhaka. What happened? I just came to Dhaka, and I just attend with like thousands of young populations in Bangladesh. Nick, you have anything you want to share? But things is that yeah, definitely I'm a big fan of all of my friends. Okay, but honestly speaking, in how I get public response about Trump, about USA, I'm very honest with you. USA actually lose his positive momentum under the leadership of Trump. Now many people hate Trump and his USA. So I do not think he's making USA great. He's actually declining all of the brand of everything, the good things of American history. I'm very honest with you. I'm very honest with you. I do not know how do you think about all of the initiative. I find even the politicians, they are heavily criticized about these Venezuela issues. How he took him to Venezuela presidents and everyone. I think under the leadership of Trump, USA actually lose all of his 100 years prides, economic stability, cultural influence, and all of the things. I think you take a great decisions. Right now you are in USA, right? You are in Europe. So I think you take great decisions.
You're right.
Nick,
You're right. The whole consideration of so-called soft power is U.S. is losing all of it, and very quickly. And if there is no soft power, then America, on its basic economic situation, is no much better than many other countries. And it's a soft power
And
that would make America great. Again or not again, but for sure, it's no longer there.
So the facts don't support anything that you're saying. But go on.
so if we got
The
Greenland,
facts
what
don't
would we
support
do with
anything
it?
you're saying. The facts is the economy in the U.S. is getting bigger and stronger relative to the world. If you go look at the data, our GDP is now increasing relative to the rest of the world. The fact is these other countries are scared to death because they saw what the strength of America could do. The Delta Force can walk in, take a leader, and out they go. We
Professor,
could probably do that to your friend Putin too,
like-
Sasha.
Bangladesh is a great friend of
Is a
USA.
little scared now because the beaches can
Professor.
come in and take your friend Putin out without losing one life. That put the world on notice. And so you guys are scared, and rightfully so. MAGA.
That's
Professor-
one of the dumbest
Professor-
arguments that you could actually make.
Absolutely
That is
true.
one of the dumbest arguments.
Liberals are scared too,
No.
because the thing is,
You want me
you're
to, you want me to
losing in
explain
the
it, or
polls.
do you
No
want
one
you
supports
to
you.
try and go
No
like
one,
this the whole time?
except yourself.
You want me to explain why it's one of the
So-
dumbest arguments that you
So it's really tough, baby. It's really
Explain
tough today.
You just want to talk. You put on your glasses, so hopefully you put on your ears, because the
Really?
reason why it's one of the dumbest
It's
arguments
very difficult.
off the
Wait
glasses.
until the Avengers movie comes in. You'll
So I
see
see
what
you didn't want to hear it. You
You'll
just
see what
want
I'm
to
talking
come here and preach and say what you want to, but not get pushed back. So again, it's one of the dumbest arguments
There we go.
because now being the quote unquote bully on the block, again, how many great nations, even as
There you
you
go.
put in Alexander the Great, didn't he have a downfall?
All right,
That
can
was
I give
a
some
great example.
can I give some specifics? The U.S. has had a military alliance with Greenland since 1941. That's what, 85 years ago? We've had a base there for 70 years. We still do. What would we get from taking over Greenland? We're already there. It's a giant ice flow with it can only the population there is 57,000. It can't support a ton of people because it's ice. Yeah, Sasha.
I would like to mention to you that all this is a giant game which is played by Trump and his Republican friends because there is a midterm election is coming in a few months. And Trump has nothing whatsoever to show to American people about his domestic achievements, economy, or anything. The economy, the 4.3 GDP growth, is nothing but theater. There is nothing behind it. It's just a shuffling of money from one company like NVIDIA, $5 billion here and there, and building all these centers, these data centers, and so on, which have no energy to run them. The Okla, which is a company that supposedly will provide the mini nuclear reactors to drive them, the first revenue they will have only by the year 2030. So right now there is nothing to run. It's all smoke and mirrors. All this 4.3 GDP, smoke and mirrors. There is nothing behind it. Real economy is going down in United States. Anything from car manufacturers to selling, everything is going down, and you will see the stock market will tell you about it in about 2 to 3 months from now.
I have one more idea about Greenland, why Trump wants it. Greenland is big. It's 800,000 square miles. It's useless because it's all covered under a mile of ice. But if Trump grabs it, he can say that he has increased the size of the U.S. by 20%. And he's the first president to increase the size of America since I don't frickin' know when, which would be great to convince dumb shits to vote for Republicans again, I guess.
Well, this is another reason why it's an idiotic move. Just to point out, it's not about, the showpiece of, hey, we've increased the size is one thing, but the rare earth minerals, he wants to plunder the area just like he's trying to plunder Venezuela. It's the whole, it's what happened in Africa. So basically that's what he's doing. But even more so, because he's thinking of the old ideas, it doesn't matter about the amount of oil that Venezuela has. Because if China now, being emboldened, takes Taiwan, Dr. Sharif, you can actually attest to this. Who controls the chip market? If you control the chip market, what are we all talking on right now? What are we all utilizing right now? So if you control 60% of the chip market, who really has world domination then?
A good point on that. It's time for us to wrap up. I know we've got the investment show at 1 o'clock with Sasha and all along those lines, and he's got some information he's going to release that can help us all make some money, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. So
You're right.
We'll be hearing that at 1 o'clock. We'll be hearing what investment advice Sasha will be given at that time. So I'll see him at 1 o'clock, and I'll see the rest of you gentlemen on tomorrow and all along those lines. So I'll see you at 1 o'clock, Sasha, and catch the rest of you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem.